First, I would like to thank all the organizers of this conference, to give me this opportunity, to catch your attention for a little bit. So, merci Emmanuel, Jérôme, Catherine, Marion. So I will start. Okay. So as you say, as Antonio said yesterday, I'm a sociologist, but I'm not a sociologist of music. I'm an ordinary sociology. That's the name of my research group. And we work with the different meanings, or about the different meanings of the word of ordinary. So our research deals with everyday life, what is considered to be mundane, banal, superficial, frivolous, but also vulgar. I don't know whether it's in English ordinary has this meaning, or in French, but in Spanish, ordinario is also vulgar. So we are, as sociologists that we are also interested in this order term of ordinary, how is social order and social ordering, how we define what is vulgar and what is not, what we define what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. And that's some of the things I would like to deal today about dancing and what we consider dancing appropriate or inappropriate and what moves us when moving in this ordering. So the ordinary touch us in our research subjects, but also in our ways of knowing and doing research. Like we like to be inspired by ordinary practices and way of doing and way of diffusing and way of communicating. And also we like to try to explore, nevertheless we are academic, but well, try to express other telling tones like humor or even vulgarity as well in our presentation. And we like to say in our group in Madrid that Sociología Ordinaria is also a vibra, it's also a vibe, it's also a mood. I mean, we try to be attentive of the atmosphere we create in our events. And this resonates with what Sam Bennett said yesterday about IASPM also being attentive and worried about creating a good atmosphere, a safe place for everyone. And I think it's important to remind us this all the time now in our everyday life. Of course, in our university, we are becoming such rough places, and not always comfortable places to live, but university is ours as well. And of course, looking at the current state, not only of academia, but university politics and well, the situation in the world in general. So, oops. Okay, so I take the topic of the conference, recording, and let me be a little bit academic and thinking about the meaning of the etymology of the word, recording, recordari, recordar, and at the heart of recording is the body as well, the heart, learning by heart. So, if, as the call for the conference said, music recording and recording practices as a way of keeping trace and tracks of inscribing sounds into different materialities and into different assemblages of music production and reception, I was wondering about how we will attend to this, looking at dancing as a music practices, as an embodied and shared music listening, and then maybe wondering or asking the question of how music listening when dancing contributes to inscribe bodies and subjectivities, attending at the gender aspect of such recording and unrecording. So I would like to attend at the potential of dancing and of music practices for repetition as well as disruption of the usual ordinary recording of bodies, gestures, movements, and feelings. And as I said, focusing on how, maybe today I will focus a little bit more in this disruptive potential of the usual ordinary recording of bodies, gesture, and movement, and also reminding us how vulnerable we can feel to music, to sound when dancing. Okay. So before entering into my presentation, I also would like to highlight, foreground, how music research is treated and how music practice is a treated business. And I'm not only saying that because I am a menopausal woman with an intimate relationship with sweet and sudden hits, not just that. It just reminds us how bodily and corporeal music practice is and how the situations we study, like dancing, performance, attending to concerts, rehearsal, learning processes, can be hard, can be sweetie, and bodily business. It's also a way of reminding that there are a lot of labor involved in making music possible, sweetie labor as well, often hard and precarious, and of course, reminding us about all the affects, feelings, and mixed feelings, ambivalence, and tensions involved in music practices. I have a reminding note here of my colleague, my French colleague, another sociologist, Olivier Catuche, who published this book at the end of the 20th century, in the late 90s, L'âme sueur. It's a way of playing with the French expression âme sœur, like the sweetie soul and the soul mate, as a way of highlighting. He was studying funk and funky music, how the sweetie situations of dancing and playing, share with other people, ground the effervescence and the social excitement that made possible these solidarities that emerge from these music practices. So this reminding of music research and of music practice as a sweetie business can also be linked to this notion of Sarah Ahmed, the sweetie concept. And there's something that also I would like to remind here. Music is not only sweetie because we study sweetie situations, but because it's also our research work is hard and sweetie, producing concepts that come out of a description. This idea of the concept doesn't come out, or doesn't fall out from the sky, come out from a description that can be hard, that can be entangled. And Sarah Ahmed speaks specifically of the concept that come out of a description of bodies that are not at home in the world. When our descriptions, in this case of musical practice, talk about these Black bodies, non-binary bodies, exploited bodies, excluded bodies that are not at home in our world. And she says, these concepts are also a reorientation to our world, a way of turning around a different land on the same thing. A sweetie concept is one that comes out of a description of a body that is not at home in the world, a description of how it feels not to be at home in the world, or a description of the world from the point of view of not being at home in it. So we can generate new understanding by describing the difficulty of inhabiting a body that is not at home in the world. And she reminds us we need a sweetie concept, we need good description of entangled and hard situations, because we need more description of the patterns that are obscure when bodies are received by spaces that have assumed their shape, in sexism order, in racist order. And we might have to insist on giving this description of how holding patterns, on how these stereotypes and how these gestures and the order become intrinsic. Preparing this presentation has also been a little bit sweetie and trying, I have to say. Not only because I was in Madrid, I was placed in Madrid, and June has been an awful month, and now we live in these awful times of climate change and extreme heat, and a whole month of bad sleeping, and you have to be used to this changing weather condition of our work still. And because, of course, it's not easy to feel at home in our current world when witnessing genocide and the political and media support and indifference to genocidal sufferings, and as well as to intensification of conflicts, the rise of hate speech and state violence, the elimination of democracy and basic human rights, and the continuity of sexism, racism, homophobia, violence, and harassment in our countries and in institutions. I remember the call of Sean Kachi as a festival in Zagreb the other day, a free Europe, and all the sweetie words you need to do. So I'm afraid my presentation is going to be a little bit sweetie, also not very tidy, and it takes the traces of several bodies, And I also take this advice of Sarah Ahmed, don't do the academic work of tidying too much, deleting and effacing the traces of bodies and sweet, and at the harshness of our work as well. Okay. So first, I approach dancing as a form of, as a choreography of gender. I take this term of this American choreographer and professor, Susan Lane Foster, that remind us that genders gender is not only performed, as we all know, no? Following Butler, for instance, but gender is also choreography. And the notion of choreography foregrounds the performative and relational nature of gender, as well as the reference to a script, not to a set of norms, to a set of rules and instruction about the reciprocal and embodied construction of femininity and masculinity, and very often the exclusion of other possibilities besides of that, no? Or what is considered to be appropriate and inappropriate for men and women, and for all the other people that don't fit with men and women as well, no? So this idea of that, as you probably already know, no? That gender, relation, meaning, and performance are enacted and recorded in bodies and in situation and in relations. And this build also memories contributing to do gender, no? And this necessity of gender to be performed or to be repeated and to be done taking into account what other bodies or people around do, that, as we say, that creates the opportunity, of course, of reinforcing and repeating the same meanings and the same stereotypes and the same, or also the possibility of not doing that or not repeating this thing, or the challenge of disrupting, no? And if you keep with the choreographic metaphor, no, the chance of the opportunity of not following the expected movement and maybe the pushing the other, no, or stepping on the other body. So I'm interested in highlighting that in my presentation today, and in how the notion of choreography, like the one of performance, includes the question of the sedimentation of the network of senses, in this case around gender, no? And I say senses as meaning, sensation, feelings, and orientation, no? En español decimos, ¿no? El ámbito de los sentidos, sentimientos, sensaciones, significados y orientaciones related to femininity and masculinity, and susceptible to change over time, where the necessary repetition supposes an opportunity, I say, for change, could be this change intentional or not. I'm also interested in highlighting that in this choreographic aspect of gender, not only human bodies are involved, but also objects, technologies, materialities, songs, and music, which can facilitate certain step, gesture, and movement, but hinder also other in a reciprocal configuration, no? So that's one of these aspects that I would like to deal with this situation today. In a particular case is regarding the white European binary gender order, no? Because not all the gender orders are similar. No? Our hegemonic gender order is this binary white European, but it's not the only one. And in this white European binary gender order, which everything is distributed in just two categories, dancing has been attributed to women and to the feminine. So it's an inappropriate activity for straight men. We can, probably I can remind that to you, if you think about what happened with boys, no, in our countries, in Spain, probably in France as well, no, how boys, when they're little, when they are told that they dance, at least in Spain, no, they dance in parties at home, in school parties, and local festival, and then they reach an age where they don't dance anymore, no, when they start feeling ashamed and feeling ridiculous, no. 2 days ago, I was at the concert of Nick Cave, and at one moment here in Paris, he did a version of the Cosmic Dancer of the Mark Bolan song. What they say, no? I was dancing when I was 12. I was dancing when I was 8. How old? No, he keep dancing there. But most of our boys stop dancing then, feeling just this social regard and social masculine regard. And occasionally, they come back to dancing. They resume dancing when they are teenagers or young men, regarding which are their musical tastes or their leisure activities. And then they have to fast how to negotiate this meaning of dancing. Either putting this activity between a masculine friends, competition, because they are not learning how to be skillful, or by adopting dancing styles that somehow stylize heterosexuality in ballroom dance, or otherwise, in the example I want to talk today, which is male rock fans, dealing with the gender trouble that the pleasure they encounter in dancing elicit in them, no, provoking dissociation and discomfort. Okay. So before describing my example, I will talk a little bit about how I understand bodies and embodiment, no? In order to be clear for my presentation. So our bodies are movement, our bodies are transit, and we are bodies, no? If I quote this American scholar Gail Salomon, who does trans studies. So we don't have a body, we don't inhabit a body, we are bodies. But that's not the end, as he says, that's not the end of the explanation. That is the beginning of the trouble and of the problem. No? From the outset, the body is not aligned with materiality, present, wholeness, and mastery, but with divineness, absence, fight for recognition, and peril of misrecognition. No? And these are the dynamics we can find in this dancing practice as well. No? So embodiment is, I quote Bruno Latour, who was also quoted yesterday, embodiment of body is a process of learning how to be affected. No? Our bodies, how can I say, growth, develop, are being in this process of learning how to be affected by the mediation of practices, of objects, of situations, by the mediation of other objects and also of other people. No? Only this relation with the world, with their many mediation, give us a body. And music practice and dancing is one of the ensemble of mediation that give us a body. No? And our lives are only thinkable and livable through our bodies. Therefore, if we follow this approach, which is grounded in phenomenology, and in the case of Salomon, also I think in psychoanalysis, bodies are atmosphere as well. Bodies are volatile, as Elizabeth Gross says. Bodies are shifting state, whose materiality is not reduced to physicality, whose materiality is uncontainable in physical terms and alone. No? This is this unique kind of objects that are the center of perspective, insight, reflection, desire, agency, and who follows this ambivalent situation. No? I was talking about menopause. It's just the second time. I won't go down anymore. But menopause, poverty, all these moments also in our life that remind us how volatile and how unstable our bodies are, and how also, how can I say that, how ironic, no? In this moment, as Antoine said yesterday, no, it's great to be old. I'm not so sure of that, but at the moment, if you can feel them, I'm a professor, I'm a stalwart, your body say, oh, wait a minute, let's see what happened, no, with this atmosphere. So, of course, as you all know, bodies are able to be disciplined. It's what I was saying before when I was talking about recording gender norms. So, bodies are disciplined. Our socialization is that, it's the disciplining of body. Music practice plays a role also in the disciplining of body. But the funny thing with body is they are able to be disciplined, but they are also one of their, how can I say this feature of the trace of body is to see beyond control, not to exceed the framework who attempt to discipline them. Not this, as I said. So I would like then now to discuss this question, or to put some example of this question relating to music and to dancing. Well, so saying that bodies are in transit and in movement also reminds us that bodies have this vibrant matter. No? Our bodies are material, even if it's a particular kind of material, and they can get attuned to music and to sound because sound is also material. And our relationship with music, sometimes maybe we tend to forget that, but it's one relation of common vibration. No? Our listening is a vibration of our ears. And of course, we can listen also our body by the vibration. We can listen to music, with the vibration of our bodies. No? I'm quoting here Jeremy Wallach, no, in this paper about the electrosonic presence of music, when he highlights exactly this thing, no? How sound is material and music is an expanded, as I say, mode of expression that makes full use of the properties of sound to move the human body in ways speech cannot, close to the experience of holding and touch. No? And Wallace reminds us of the ability of sound waves to collapse physical distances between objects and create an experience of co-presence, what we call a sound space or a sonic space. And sound emanating from vibrating bodies, no? Either the technology of the sound diffusion or the instruments are aware, or the bodies or the sounds produced by the human body when singing and when dancing. Not this human and non-human sound had the power of vibrate, of make other bodies vibrate, and when they come in contact. No? That's the reason, no, that Wallace said that the listening is audio-tactile. No? So I would like to remind this thing, because it's something that this audio-tactility of listening, I mean, you can experience it every time we listen, but specifically or especially, or it's more easily perceived when we dance. All right. Okay. I always get lost with my tablet, but I will find it. Okay. So I would like to keep in mind in this tactility and vibration aspect and resonant aspect of music listening, and then move maybe to other references, of biographical references that maybe do not deal exactly with music, but I think they can be interesting to illustrate us in this power of the erotics and in this experience of dancing. No? And I've been reading this Black authors talking about Black studies and talking also about Black diaspora and the importance of feeling, on touch, on tactility, in inventing new lives and in changing existing situations. No? I'm thinking here about Frantz Fanon and about the reading that the Kenyan independent scholar Keguro Macharia does of Frantz Fanon and how he links Frantz Fanon with Audre Lorde. No? This idea of touch, affective and physical, that generates relations of care and pleasure, ways of inventing and sustaining being together. No? And also reminding us that touch, that is one of the relations we have with music, is not without risks. No? Touch can encompass empathy as well as violation, passivity as well as active aggression. It can be safely dangerous or dangerously safe. It also carries a message about the immediate present, the possible future, and the problematic past. Finally, touch crosses boundaries in feel and imagination. Touch risks invention, not simply affirming previous bonds and paradigms of filiation, but generating new kind of bonds. And Keguro Macharia links, Frantz Fanon's view on touch and the ability and the possibility of changes afforded by touch with the power of the reading in the power of the erotic and the uses of the erotic of Audre Lorde. And here I would like to talk a little bit of what Audre Lorde says of the erotic and linking with another musical reference, which is the text of the article of Richard Dyer in Defense of Disco. No? In this article, both texts are written more or less at the same time. They don't acknowledge that probably they don't know each other, though they probably were dancing to the same kind of music, to some disco and soul music. No? Audre Lorde says in an interview that the idea of writing the uses of the erotic and the power of the erotic come after a night of dancing. Instead, she has to prepare a communication for a conference, and she went dancing instead. And he was a little bit, but the idea, not only come the idea of writing the paper because of what she was dancing, because of their colleagues didn't understand the day after that she has spent the day dancing instead of preparing, and she came unprepared. No? And then she felt that she has to say a little bit about the importance for women and also for women in academia and in feminism to think about and to not only to think but to feel and to use the erotic. And in defense of disco, Richard Dyer does an analysis of disco music and rock music as sensibilities, no? Looking at the sensuous and feeling experience that this kind of music and the situation of dancing afford and facilitate. No? So I would like just to highlight this idea, no, as the use of the erosis and the and putting attention at the erotic in dancing. The erotic that is not reduced to the sexual and is not opposed to the spiritual, you know, the erotic as source and resource, not limited to the sexual, creative, energy, spiritual, and political. Erotic is joy in an essential way, and a form of establishing and sustaining relations across difference. It entails a responsibility of not conforming to the norms and conventions and resisting the oppression of structures that exclude and subordinate Black people, women, queer people. No? As Audre Lorde said, it's a measure between the beginning of our sense of self and chaos and our strongest feeling in an internal self of satisfaction to which once we have experienced it, we know we can aspire it. No? It's not only a question of what we do, it's a question of how accurately and fully we can feel in the doing. No? And once we experience it and we have the force, we can go on and maybe try to do other things and to change other situations in our field. No? So her text is addresses to women and to Black women, but it's not reduced to Black women. It's also this idea of human also force in the erotic as the strong feeling and the communication with one's feeling and the communication with other people through these feelings as well. And as I said, it's political and it can be spiritual as well. No? This sharing of joy and emotional, physical, and intellectual. And a power that we can maybe experience in more easily or more strong ways when we dance or when we are involved in music practices. And I'm also interested in how she says that the power of the erotic that can be experienced when dancing help us to free ourselves from the suffering and self-negation and of the normative order causes and from the numbers, which so often seems like the only alternative in our society. Not this idea of the power of the erotic being a way of counter numbers, stiffness, immobility in people, and also, as we say, in male rock fans, as I go on now. So, Dyer and Audre Lorde highlight this ability of the erotic, the possibilities of the erotic, but Audre also says that to be used, our erotic feelings must be recognized. No? And this links also about this idea of use, no? A question of use is a question about being, about enabling a way of living differently. No? And the uses of the erotic also can be, as I say, maybe more easily recognized through music and music practice, no? Uses of music, of concert, and as dancing, even of music for these male fans that I will talk now about them. No? So they use as a contact sound, as a record, as a way of building memories, habit, and also, as I say, as a record the memories and the habit and the past we have already used. So these uses of the erotic of Audre Lorde can be linked to the uses on affordance of music, as Tia Denora has described, you know, this invitation to action, and this music affordance, you know, that stems from the capacity to destabilize and reorchestrate not only affect and desire, but criteria of belonging and affiliation. No? I'm also interested in, but I have to go fast because otherwise I won't describe my example of rock my friends. How the term and the question of use lead us to the question of abuse as well. No? And use without consent is abuse. And the abuse of feeling is like the risky aspect of touch, and also this active ignorance about what are we using and in which relation are we involved. No? I quote Audre Lorde, when we look away from the importance of the erotic and in the development and sustenance of our power, or when we look away from ourselves and we satisfy our erotic needs in concert with others, we use each other as objects of satisfaction rather than share our joy in the satisfying, rather than make connection with our similarities and differences, because that is one of the powers of the erotic, no? This way of dealing and living and being in contact with difference. No? Okay. Yeah. So I have to conclude, and I come to my example. So this is a research with male rock fans in Spain. I interviewed these men who were interested in taking part in a research about dancing and who acknowledged dancing when going for concerts. And what I found in this research, which was interviews and observation, is an ambivalent eroticism, how these practices of dancing created pleasure and disquiet for male rock fans. How dancing created for them at the same time a situation of being out of place and disorientation, and at the same time a joy of feeling the body in a place. So the men I interviewed presented this tension between the shame of doing something that it was not, they were not sure that it was appropriate, and the pleasure of doing it. So in this interview, in the first time, we encountered this idea of, men do not dance, men don't know how to dance. They felt awkward and ashamed of being seen, so they didn't dance when they were in bars or in, or in clubs, but they do dance when they were in concerts, not because of a specific power of live music, but because everybody was looking at the stage, and then you could dance on your way. And you could feel the tactility of the sound without being controlled by the, by the gaze of the way you were looking for other people. So in this interview, they also talk about the feeling of being happy flesh of the, and I have here, I have here some of the quotation of the interview, where they talk about how they feel happy, how you feel free, how you feel immersed in the situation of the dancing, of the intimacy of dancing a pogo dance, a mosh pit, for instance, no? Describing the mosh pit, and I'm putting my body against yours, I'm elbowing you, but at the same time is intimacy. So if you look at this quotation, probably they could be similar to quotation of disco dance or electronic dance music or rave music participants. They share ecstasies, being brought out to tears as well. So that's the reason this quotation from the book Raving from Mackenzie work at here, because you can feel this feeling like happy chest, this erotic sociality of touch and rubbing, the energy and intimacy of dancing with other people, the energy that circulates through the sound space of the concert and energizes the body, And I quote here the work of Silvia Martinez, and the very important aspect of energy, like a factor in rock music and in rock experience, And also then this idea of dissociation and resociation, as Mackenzie Ward describes for trans people participating in raves. This idea of the feeling the power of the erotic mean the need to dissociate to this instruction and schemas of bodily masculinity. So I cannot deal with this. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit further. So to end up my presentation, and I start with the quotation of Mackenzie Ward, straight cis men can dance without this self-consciousness, can let the beat take them, can dissociate of their masculinity. There are exceptions, but then I don't think of those raised boys as straight when they are dancing. So my question here, after looking at these men, am I still looking at these men that dance rock, is like whether this gender discipline of control of body, of mastery, of normative masculinity can be interrupted, and also paying attention at the longing for the repetition of such pleasurable, affective, intense disruption that I found in this men's testimony. Maybe we could talk about this queer potential of dancing to be the cock blocker of cock rock. No? I found this slang American term of cock blocker, no? Like something that get inside, no? That spoils a body opportunity. No? I say maybe that spoils this body opportunity of hooking up with the sense of a strong and normative masculinity. And this aspect remind me because, of course, when I'm finishing with that. With Audre Lorde talk about the power of the erotic, she talks about how the power of the erotic can empower women and black women and how can help them to change the situation. So I was asking me, what's the power of the erotic when we are talking about straight white men? Could the power of the erotic be this power of discomfort and disquiet? And then I take this concept of the Basque expert in gender studies and masculinities, Joaquin Azpiazu, who speaks about the productive discomfort that men should or can encounter when joining feminist and LGBT social movement. And he reminds us that masculinity is not only aesthetic as subjectivity, but it's a structural privilege position. So when you embody and add a privileged position, no? This discomfort can be also a sign of possible change. And it was also a measure of your attachment and engagement with more equal, no? And non-normative politics as well. So my suggestion, or maybe my proposal, is like a productive discomfort capable of unrecording and unsettling normative masculinity in male bodies, challenging established practices, and transforming maybe gender power relations, require that dancing be not only uncanny, no, pleasurable, and disorienting for men, but also a disempowering experience for them. Okay. And thank you very much for your listening. I can do
it. Thank you, Amparo. We get 2 minutes for questions. So the mics are here.
I mean, I'll be around the whole week, so I can talk to you everywhere.
Hello, thank you for that. That was absolutely fascinating. I'm really curious to hear a little bit more about the people that you spoke with.
Yeah.
Were these cisgendered hetero men?
Yeah.
So how did they sort of articulate this idea of dance? Because I note that throughout the talk you sort of talked about this idea of being uncomfortable with one's body and how that changes sort of over their life. So how did they articulate that idea? Did you notice that there were any sort of homophobic or transphobic, or this idea of because they were dancing, they were worried about being seen as non-hetero men?
Yeah.
How did they articulate that experience?
These men were adult men. I mean, I asked for rock male fans who like dancing to rock music, who define themselves as rock fans, and who were interested in taking part in a research about dancing to rock music. So of course there are a lot of men that don't dance, that they're just immobile in concert, and they didn't come to my research. I didn't specify about their sexuality, but at the end I think, well, I don't know, because if you don't talk about sexuality, you don't know. One of these men, he identifies himself about gay men, and the others either identify as heterosexual or they don't deal with this situation. So there wasn't explicit homophobic comments in their interview, but there were this idea of, like, dancing is a little bit weird. If I dance too much, my friends told me that I dance too much. I don't like to dance in a bar because people look at you and then to dash la nota, not to make a note to attract attention. And in one of the examples, it was more explicitly. I mean, I cannot deal with that now. I will deal with you just later. But it was this idea of being something that is not properly appropriate, but at the same time you like it. So you have to find the situation, like in a concert when everyone is looking and you can feel their presence, or in the mosh pit, where it's more acceptable to be and to move and to be clumsy, but also to be intimate. So it was an explicit thing. It wasn't, and either way, it wasn't only in one case. In one case, the guys say, I like dancing because it makes me feel different. Like if I have another body, a different body, and I can experience feelings that I don't experience normally, like almost like a woman. He says like that. No? But so it was in this middle range between explicit and non-explicit that I could grasp these feelings of this annoyance and these feelings of being out of place and in the place.
Thank you. Just another question, perhaps.
Hello. Thank you so much for your presentation. And thank you for bringing this beautiful flag on stage. I'm straight up ahead.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay.
Great.
I was wondering, because you mentioned that lack of a gaze from others because everyone's looking at the stage during a rock show. And I was wondering, because this is a conference about recording as well, if the omnipresence of recording at shows, everyone filming, not everyone, but generally a presence of videotaping, if that maybe might change something in this potential abandon through dance.
Yeah, certainly, because there was this tension between the tactile and the visual, and the more they could be in the tactile and not thinking about the visual, the more they could be abandoned and feel like that. So definitely but for them it was more related to the fact that they were not recording, because at one moment, as they say, I disconnect, and this idea of disconnecting, dissociating from what is around, and as a way of connecting with my specific self. There were all these adult type of rock fans that don't like at all to having mobile phones and being recorded. So they were already, even when they don't dance, they don't like that. But of course, they reckon that the fact that, that people is not taping and recording and then looking at them allows them to let abandon to dancing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll stop here, and I will warmly thank Amparo for her presentation.
Thank you.